pollution. That's what we've got to do. That's the intensification that Matt's talking about.
That's right, and there's a gene which has been transferred out of barley into rice, which has improved the rice plant's ability to get nitrogen out of the soil, and actually that means you can put less fertilizer on and get the same yields. Now that has now been licensed free to African farmers. You know, the technology has been given away through charities in Africa. It's being tested at the moment, and the possibility there is that it could make fertilizer affordable for small farmers. So there are wonderful things potentially happening.
Thank you all very much indeed. Do join us next week, same time, same place. All the best for now, and may the solutions that we've been hearing about, potential solutions that we've been hearing about today, turn into very real ones. Thank you. Bye-bye for now.
A popular uprising that shook the country to its core. A defiant president under siege from his people. As the protesters took charge of the streets, we look back at the events that are changing Egypt.
I will stay on the air if I can until the police come.
In a special program, Al Jazeera gives you a day-by-day account from those that witnessed them firsthand. Egypt burning, at this time on Al Jazeera.
You don't fight threats, you fight enemies.
Our core function remains the territorial defense of our populations and our member states.
Sanctions, do you think they will work?
A huge number of Western forces have not made huge progress.
The public no longer even believes that, you know, we are there because we are building democracy.
Our empire is imploding. It itself is an illusion.
Empire with Marwan Bashar on Al Jazeera. It is in the details. A look. A connection. The moments that reveal the truth. Award-winning documentaries from critically acclaimed filmmakers. Witness documentaries to open your eyes. At this time on Al Jazeera.
Decoding the stories that shape our views.
Those images catapulted the story back into the headlines.
Everything that I thought would be easy was hard, and everything that I thought would be hard was easy.
From mainstream media to consumer-led advertising.
There are other options.
What's at the front line of global media?
This has been reported worldwide.
With a major media angle to it.
Comparing news and challenging views. The Listening Post. At this time on Al Jazeera.
As China undergoes profound changes, competition for jobs becomes a struggle to survive. Two graduates fresh out of college seek employment in a city of 8 million people. Now entering the real world, the graduates become increasingly desperate and begin to question their college-trained talents. It's a time of hope and frustration for the workforce of the future. Faces of China at this time on Al Jazeera.
This is Al Jazeera.
Hello there, it's 1300 GMT, 3 o'clock in the afternoon in Egypt, and you're watching Al Jazeera. I'm David Foster with extended coverage of the crisis in Egypt. It's stalemate in Liberation Square, but we'll be talking to an opposition member who says the Egyptian government is now negotiating behind closed doors.
The region is being battered by a perfect storm.
The US Secretary of State warns other governments in the region to implement reforms in the wake of this crisis. There's been a gas blast in Sinai. A pipeline from Egypt, which supplies Jordan and Israel, is attacked. And the Egyptian government meets as it's revealed the unrest is costing the country more than $300 million a day. The US Secretary of State is warning Middle Eastern leaders to take note of what's happening in Egypt. Hillary Clinton says the region is being battered by a perfect storm. Well, thousands of pro-democracy protesters have spent the night in Cairo's Liberation Square. This is the scene 2 hours before curfew. People have been camping out after what they called a day of departure, which failed to herald the departure of President Hosni Mubarak. Alan Fisher reports.
They continue to gather, to protest, to demand. There is no sense 12 days in, the anger here is dying away.
Mubarak ought to leave. Mubarak ought to let us live freedom.
You know, all the people here didn't need Mubarak anymore. Obama said to Mubarak to try to fix all the problem here, and Mubarak can't fix nothing because we don't need Mubarak.
The crowd wanted Friday's protest to be decisive, to be President Mubarak's day of departure. He's still there and getting on with business. This was a meeting with senior cabinet members in Cairo. But pressure is growing. Speaking in Germany, US Secretary of State Hillary Clinton says the Middle East is facing a perfect storm of circumstances and changes have to follow.
The status quo is simply not sustainable. So for all our friends, for all the friends in the region, including governments and people, the challenge is to help our partners take systematic steps to usher in a better future where people's voices are heard, their rights respected, and their aspirations met.
It's suggested American officials are trying to do a deal to bring this crisis to an end. Egypt's new Vice President Omar Suleiman has been meeting opposition figures. He's likely to tell them the president is going nowhere just now. He's offered to talk to the regime's biggest opponents, the Muslim Brotherhood, who have speakers in the square.
This revolution is the people's revolution, and it is not a religious revolution. We want a civilian state from the will of the people and not religion.
The army has been asking the protesters to remove the barricades with the promise the square will be protected. For the moment, the barricades remain, and so do the people. Alan Fisher, Al Jazeera.
Well, let's hear now from Abdul Rahman Yusuf. He's a youth activist and he represents Mohammed al-Baradei's group, the Movement for Change. A little over 24 hours ago, he met the Egyptian Prime Minister Ahmed Shafiq. In fact, it was late on Friday, and I asked him what was discussed.
We conveyed to him a message relating to the terms for starting negotiations. Two conditions. One is President Mubarak to step down, whether materially or politically, by way of delegating his powers and authorities to his vice president, as per Article 139 of the Egyptian Constitution. The second condition was relating to the investigations for incidents that took place and also to acknowledge and admit the revolution by way of two steps. First is to release all the detainees and those arrested since the 25th of January. Second, to identify and arrest and penalize all who assaulted the demonstrators and revolution protesters, and also to promise not to prosecute or hunt down any of those who took part of the revolution. In this manner, they are acknowledging the revolution. At that point, we can discuss the issue of ending the protest we are staging now.
Are you still insisting, and did you insist in this meeting with the Prime Minister, that President Mubarak must